Hello, I'm Dwight Norris of Fishing at Work, and today we're going to talk about the best time to fish for bass. Now, I'll actually be very straight and very blunt. I believe the best time to fish for bass is at night, and there are a variety of reasons of why that is. But first off, I wanted to tell you about the other video I made about is today a good time to go fishing, which is sort of in the same realm, but not a really useful question because the best time to go fishing any day is any time you have available. And I believe you can do that. But back to bass. Why is night fishing great for bass? Why is night fishing great for any kind of fish? Well, first off is because there's less fishing pressure and they can actually easily attack their prey. So let's start off with the fishing pressure. Every day, it's sunny outside, and people don't realize how well fish can see. They can see out of the water about 15 or so feet. And this is just one of their senses. And we all know the sense of sound is their strongest one by far. But their sense of sight does not lag behind as much. So when you're on the shoreline or if you're on a boat and you think you're sneaking up on a fish, you're really not. And to be even more blunt, if you're using an electronic device that sends off sound waves, not particularly like a hummingbird sonar, but an electric trolling motor, the actual clicks and sounds from it that it sends out are actually really bad for fish. They actually scare the fish. And if you get too close with it, they'll either, one, be used to the sound and know that it's nothing that's going to harm them, or two, it'll be new and they'll be skittish and they'll run away. But that's besides the point. The fact is, if you're within view, they can see you. They know you're there. They know you're probably trying to come after them, or you're just looking at them because you're a sightseer. But most likely, they'll stick to the fact that you might be a threat, and threats must be avoided. So when you come in with your lures that may or may not attract them, they're going to get tight-lipped. And it's one of the things people will talk about specifically in tournaments about fishing pressure. There may be a great area that has a nice drop off or a ledge or some structure, and it's in like the perfect area at the perfect time. But if there's like 30 fishermen over there, just slinging rods and lures and causing commotion and just being visible and making a lot of sound, the fishing pressure at that given point in time will make the fish either not want to bite that much because they don't know what's going on. This is abnormal to what they're used to, or two, they will just you'll just run out of fish really fast. So doing doing that with nighttime fishing is much better, except for the fact that you can't see. So using the right equipment with lighting, staying safe, going to areas that you know, and um, or being on a boat, which is great because you don't have to worry about anything else like that except running into a rock or a tree or some structure that you can't see. You're not the Titanic or anything. An iceberg isn't going to pop out of nowhere, but you have to stay safe when you're out in the water, specifically if it's salt water and the tide is coming in and going out, and you don't know exactly where you are anymore. So use all the proper equipment and have all the proper safety devices with you when you do night fishing. Um, I will go more specific into night fishing and all that entails in a different video, but I just wanted to let you know that if you wanted to go fishing and you wanted to catch a lot of bass, and specifically a lot of big bass, you want to fish at night. It's just easier. They can't tell what the lure is. They're more attracted to sounds. It's kind of like fishing in muddy water. You can use a bigger bait because they're really going after the silhouette of a bait or the shadow of a bait or the sound of a bait. And if they can't tell exactly what it is, they're more likely to check on it and see if it smells, see if it makes a sound, see if it feels right if they put it in their mouth. And if it's a really large lure, and like, oh, this is like the money. Somebody's dropped a giant honey ham on my lap. Obviously, they're going to take a bite of it. It's like a big ham sandwich. Right when you're watching the Super Bowl, you don't even like think about it. You see the ham sandwich, next thing you know, it's in your mouth. That's what happens at night. They're more likely to react and to taste the bait without actually inspecting and knowing it, using their normal daytime senses to decipher if this is a fake Berkeley power bait worm, or is it a nice juicy bloodworm or earthworm or whatever the forage is in your area that they enjoy. There are some other great times to fish, and those times can vary depending on the season. Most people have a much better time fishing for bass when they're on the shoreline, and that's usually during the spring and the summer when it's nice and warm, but not too hot, because when it gets too hot, they go deep again. But when you can see the fish going along the shoreline, they're kind of spread out. That's the way bass do when it gets to a nice temperature, above 60 or so degrees. They'll go into the flats and they'll search for prey, and they'll be like a roaming wolf. Well, wolves usually go in packs, but a lone wolf that's roaming the shoreline looking for the next meal, and they're more spread out. And that's one of the reasons a lot of pro fishermen don't actually try to go in there too much unless they know all the fish are in there and this is the perfect time for them to be in there. They're more likely to go after structure that's in slightly deeper water or on some kind of drop off. And it doesn't have to be a big drop off. It can be 3 to 6 feet, but it's usually better if there's some kind of current going on one side and they can get the bait going by and wait on that little dip just below them and just attack them into the fast current, and they're not able to react or even see the bass there, which makes it easy meal for them. But it also makes an easy catch for you because those areas are usually pretty small and don't really encompass a large area. So if you have a great contour map and you do a little research, just like the pros do, you can mark off these areas, and then when the perfect time comes, you can go there and there'll be a concentration of bass. It won't be, whoop, you hit the shoreline, you catch a bass, and you have to go like another quarter mile, or to catch something like that big, it'll just be small, like largemouth bass in the area. There'll be a whole bunch of them around the same size, because if they weren't the same size, they'd probably be eating each other because they just can't stop eating. There'll be maybe 2 to 3 pounders, maybe 4 to 5, maybe even bigger. Maybe there's some really big ones down there or just below them, and you're just rocking them out, boom, boom, boom. And you're wondering, like, how do the pros do that? They found a spot with a concentration of largemouth bass, and they use the contour maps, and they use their knowledge of when the best time to go fishing for that specific area is. And that usually has to do with some testing, which maybe we time crunched fishermen can't do. They know that the fish are going to be hanging around 10 feet. They look for drop-offs near 10 feet or 8 to 10 feet, and they go down to 20 or maybe just 15. And that's enough in a short area, which you can see in that contour map because the lines get closer to each other, which means there's a steeper pitch to one depth to another. And that's one of the things you should focus on if you have a contour map of your local fishing place. And I think that's pretty much what I want to talk about today. I'll actually make a blog post about this, which will go a lot more in depth, and I'll be able to describe to you more in depth why nighttime fishing is better, and I'll also have a nighttime fishing video and blog post later now that I've thought about it. So if you're thinking about the best time to go fishing for bass, or the best place to go fishing for bass, then you should try out night fishing in your local area, wherever that may be. It could be freshwater, could be saltwater, but just get out there and try it. It may be a little scary, maybe a little dark. If you just get the right gear, lights, camera, action, lights, light gear, safety gear, right tackle, maybe some special stuff like some something that actually sparkles or glows at night. Might get things' attention. That usually helps in saltwater. But anyway, yeah, this is it. Go out there, get some fish.